Welcome back to the Love, Truth, and Power podcast. In today's episode, men explore the missed opportunities and fears as they continue the conversation in part 2 of Searching for My Father. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into it.
Okay, so like I was saying, I was very present in my children's lives coming up, and I was reflecting on how we could be absent and still present. And in the time in coming up, my kids, I believe I was, because of job and work, and I would use recreational stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you miss a lot of stuff. And then my son was about 9 or 10 years old, and I realized, you asked me what would he say. I had to change because he literally soaks up everything I say and do. You know what I'm saying? When I tell you that, I mean literally, like. And so some of the things that I was carrying over, I had to let go because I wanted him to come up better. You know what I'm saying? And so what my son would say is that dad is probably very, very present, because I'm present in a way where you'll get tired of me being too present, because I want to know.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to know things because it's questions that my dad never asked. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
Conversations that him and I have is questions that me and my dad never had because he never talked. You know what I'm saying? So, and so that's what I would say about it, man. He's about to be 21, man, and wow, yeah, man. And like to put it all into perspective, he was 1 when these guys met him.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 1 year old, man. You know what I mean? He was probably the same age you was when I met you.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? And so,
Wow.
yeah.
So, in your fatherhood role, who has been instrumental in you assuming the responsibility of your family as a young father and as a more experienced father? In your fatherhood role, who has been instrumental in you assuming the responsibilities of your fatherhood role? As a young father, that's the only question you can answer. And as an experienced father. And I'm going to start with Mr. Page.
I knew you would.
I need you.
Yep. And what I'm about to say is probably going to blow your mind. Because the way my conversation have gone throughout this night, it was my father. And here's why I say that. My mom taught me to and raised me to be a man. But when I looked at how and y'all gonna have to excuse me. I know you use the word father in the letter, but that ain't my word. My daddy was he gave me, showed me the path that I didn't want to go.
That's a good analogy there.
So that's why I give him that. Because I wanted to be a part of my kids' life, my family life. I wanted to be there for them.
So he was the instrumental piece.
In accordance with that question,
Yeah.
yes. And I know it because and again I harp on what my mom did, but that was a lesson that I learned from him. What not to do. Not so much as what to do. And it worked.
I would have to say both my mother and my father, man, both of them. Because 20 plus years, until somebody leave this earth, that's unspeakable, So they really showed me that life is not all peaches and cream, like it's ups and downs. You gotta stick beside people. That's why I'm with my girl now, So I look to grow with her,
Wow. How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay. That's a great statement from a young man at your age, and I speak that from experience. Huh?
That's I wish I was thinking
Well,
like
please.
22.
But it's a lot of factors that go into it.
Of course it does. Yeah.
As far as like, I got a lot of cousins that's, what I'm saying? I got a cousin that's probably gonna get life in a few. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You see those type of things, you're like,
That's good.
I ain't got time to be,
That's
for
good.
sure.
Absolutely.
That's
For
true.
sure.
Yeah.
That's acknowledgement, right?
Right.
As a young father, senior in high school, daughter, not even a year old yet. My wife is Caucasian, so her parents kicked her out the house, her dad, because she, dating a black guy. So I'm had my own apartment, you know what I'm saying? And so what was instrumental, man, is I know what it feels like to grow up without your biological father. And that was my driving force when I became a young dad, that I wanted to be better than that. You know what I'm saying? And no knock on him, love him. You know what I'm saying? It's some, you might ask me later. I hold that thought. So that was my instrument, man. That and my mother and my dad, my stepdad. He was there. You know what I mean? And I think what instrumental now in my older age is when I got saved and became a Christian and learned to love the Lord and learned to read my Bible, and you know what I'm saying? And then I realized that, man, there's so much fatherhood stuff in the Bible. And so whether you have a dad or not, you know what I mean? You can get it, and I think that's outside, that has been instrumental in my older years, raising my kids and just helping me heal from, we all got childhood trauma from something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, and it even helped me, like now, I told y'all, like my and my dad, because like now we talk on the phone every Sunday, nonstop. I'm gonna call him at 8 o'clock every Sunday. I know I can get him to talk at least on every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not a talker. You know what I mean? And so, but and that helps a lot too. But yeah, God, man, that's for me. That's in my older years. That, if I answered the question.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mr. Fries.
I'm gonna piggyback a little bit off Mr. Page. The fear of failure. For me, seeing what failure looked like from my perspective, from my father, drove me to the responsibilities of giving 110% and making sure my family was good. Wow, man. As a young man, that's what drove me.
That's it, man.
I didn't want to be a failure.
That's it.
Didn't want to be a failure. I knew what they looked like.
Me too.
Right?
Yep.
Not only did I know what it looked like, I knew what it felt like.
Yep. That's the key.
That's the key.
I knew what it felt like.
Yep.
I knew the disappointment. Right? I knew the disappointment. Man, and I tell you, that drove me from when I wasn't a father, it was driving me. You know, I knew that at some point I was gonna be a dad, but man, I was excited. I had anxiety. I had all of that.
Nightmares.
Nightmares of not. That's a true assessment.
It is.
Of failure.
Yeah.
You know, this is my DNA. This is my father. Don't get it twisted. When I talk about him, I'm sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him.
Mm-hmm.
I just never knew him. And me, again, us, and what I realize now, and I'm going to share with my brothers here, I was the bigger person. I knew more than him. As I got older, I knew better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And never asked a question until I thought about the question.
Mm-hmm.
I knew better than him. I knew,
Yeah.
like you said, he only did what he knew.
That's it, yeah.
They only did what they knew, what they were taught. They didn't know anything. Our grandfathers showed no emotion to them.
That's right.
They didn't have that.
Man's supposed to work and get
Work!
out. That's
Take
it.
care of
That's
your
it.
family.
Take care of your family, man. That's it.
Be strong.
Yeah,
You ain't got
man.
no emotions.
Yeah, you don't show no emotion. Shut up, boy. Don't cry.
So he did
But
what he
was
knew,
tough.
Mm-hmm.
you know. And again, as time go on and we grow, that was a fear for me.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was one of my disappointments with my father. It was a mixed bag for me. Disappointment, I loved him. I wanted him to be there for me. Come. Let's go. Let's let's fish. Come watch me play. Because of course I had game.
Mm-hmm.
But again, anything. I wanted anything.
Yeah.
As I got older, because all I knew was my mom at first, but as I got older, I realized who he was. I saw him all day long. He came and took care of us. They wasn't together, but my father took care of us. And then I started to realize who he was. It's my dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and him not being there. And again, and I'm not going to elaborate on this too much, all I knew about him initially was what my mother told me and her experience with him.
That's me.
Be it good, bad, negative, whatever.
That's me.
That's what I knew.
That's
the initial phase of me knowing who he was.
Yep.
Okay?
And you carry that on with
And
you.
I carry that on with me.
I can relate.
Yeah. And that was as a young father, but as a right now, I'm like, man, my disappointment is, man. Me not recognizing that I was bigger than him. I knew more than him. I knew what he went through. And that because of me, we missed out on him being a grandfather and him sharing my kids. Because me, I'm still angry. I'm not even angry. I'm not even paying attention to it really.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it was already set in my mind of where I was at. It was irrelevant because it was all about my mother. And that was my first love. My first love. So, as I'm older now, man, it's just the disappointment of not, talking to him. My father came here, but he came to my house for the first time ever. 3 months before he passed. And he stayed a week, and he had throat cancer, couldn't speak to me. My father came here and could not speak to me because he had throat cancer. I took care of him for a week. And in that week, I was 43 years old. In that week, I learned more about not just him, but our relationship, right? My father, I learned that much from him in a week. And it was so fulfilling for me. And I was so disappointed in myself that I couldn't bring this. Another podcast.
But you know what though, Fry? And I tell you, and that's a blessing that you got to do that. Because see, with my biological father, I saw him when I was 15. They lived in Atlanta. My dad was in the Army. We had just came back from Panama. I was going to the 10th grade. My grandmama put me on a bus. I went to see my grandmama because I just been gone for 3.5 years. She put me on a bus, sent me to Atlanta. I spent a couple weeks with them, my sister and my biological father, and then we went to Kansas, and I never saw him again till we put him in the ground February 27, 2004. Y'all was here.
Yeah.
They remember
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but I had so much animosity that when he would call my house on Fort Lee, my wife would pick up the phone and she talked to him. I didn't want to talk to him. And then now I'm standing over his casket and now I'm mad at myself because I never got the opportunity to tell him I loved him, I hate him, I forgive him. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I said I can relate.
So did it come to you? Did you speak to yourself about, you know what? I never walked in his shoes.
Yeah.
I never knew what he wanted. Was
After-
that after the fact?
He was gone. Years after. Yeah, years after. Probably, like I say, man, when I got saved in 2009, when I rededicated my life in 2009, it happened then. God opened that up. And so now I had to learn how to let go of that pain and give it to God. And
so what pain are you referring to? Elaborate on that. Which pain?
well, it's the pain.
Was it the pain of missing out and not? Or
the hardest part of a young boy that's impressionable is not being whole of nothing. You know what I'm saying? So the pain would probably be more guilt than anything. Like Fry said, I should have reached out. When he called that one Sunday and I was on the basketball court playing basketball and Becky came and your dad on the phone, I should have just went and got on the phone. You know what I'm saying? And so that is the pain I'm talking about.
So many missed opportunities.
Missed opportunities because I was being selfish.
And prideful.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Yeah. And so it's hard when you don't get a chance to reconcile. So now you got to learn how to do it without him being here. You got to pray, talk to him, and this and hope that the Holy Spirit will,
And in my grief, in my pain, that I shared just with me, it's about that. It's about the missed opportunities. That, man, wow. And again, my father, he stayed a week with me. The only time he ever been to my house, and we fought, we scuffled. It was funny, and I knew everything to be true about him when he said, I said, Dad, I love you. I'll see you in a couple of months, when I come up there to see you. And he said, son, I love you. I'm proud of you. He said, but I won't be here. I'm not going to make it that far. I was like, yeah, whatever. I see you. Coming to get you. This is great. This is what I was looking for. And that was July. And he died in September. Yeah. So, man, so many missed opportunities, man. And I say to the young men out there that are angry, for no reason, have that conversation.
Yeah, man.
Because you're not gonna know
It'll tear
until you
up.
know.
You never know, because it's always two sides to a story.
Always.
Yeah.
You're not gonna know until you know. So let's move on. We're gonna get this going. So, Mike, what can we do to support specifically men of color in their fatherhood role?
I think increased communication. I think back in your day, I would say it's easier for us to maneuver now, but I think it was more.
So increased communication with who? With what?
With
elaborate on that a little
just
bit.
With men in general, having closer relationships back then with you guys, it was a lot of, you got to run to so and so house, so you got to go there, but that was intimate, that was personal time that y'all got to spend with people and have that face-to-face contact. And now it's so easy for us to just pick up a phone that whenever it is time to get face-to-face,
we're a little bit timid and we're scared to be vulnerable with men just because we're so used to being behind a text message, or we're so busy being behind a phone call that confrontation initially face to face we shy away from a lot of times.
So are you saying it's still a stereotype of men afraid of being vulnerable?
Oh, for
with
sure,
men?
for sure. Especially, and I think it's gotten worse with our generation because it's more so like we don't have to communicate face to face. We can text everything. So even if it's
That's
with my
that's
parents,
a good
like
assessment right there.
we upstairs. My mom could be in her room and I'm downstairs and she texts me. She's like, turn the oven on 325, and I'm like, all right, cool. I won't even respond sometimes, or I'll like her message. I don't gotta say anything. She don't have to say anything to me, and it still gets done. But at the same time, that intimate, like face to face personal connection.
And it's funny. Let me pause. Thank you, audience. You said that you didn't respond, and that it was intimate. It was good. We would have got our ass whooped. We would have responded to our mother and said, "Yes, my God, I'm gonna turn the stove off." It's why, and that blew me away.
Boy, didn't I tell you to turn that stove off?
Yeah.
And you saw it as, I didn't respond to her, but we have an understanding, right?
So like he said, I like the message.
Correct.
So,
wow.
And that's where communication has gone.
Absolutely.
So
It changed the conversation.
There is no conversation.
You're right.
There is no conversation.
Wow.
So now you have a bunch of, like I said before, it's the difference between a man and a male.
Man, I need to save you. You be quiet. I need to save you.
But
I'm coming to you.
But to piggyback a little bit off of that too,
Yeah.
also like it was kind of a culture when y'all were growing up too to eat at the table with your parents or your family.
Yes,
like
man.
that's what I grew up with. My parents was like, well, when I got older, it changed to all right, you're gonna eat here at least once a week.
Absolutely.
But whenever I was growing up, every single week, we having that face-to-face conversation. There is no, all right, when you finish your food, you can walk up. May I be excused from the table? Like, if they're done talking, they'll let you know when you can leave. But we don't necessarily, everybody that's watching this doesn't have that necessarily intimate connection with their parents that we need, especially men.
Nate, can you piggyback off that? Can you piggyback off what he's saying? What's your assessment?
I'm with Mike with the like the message thing. My room is right next to my mom's room, so a lot of times she'll just knock on the wall. I'll go in, yes ma'am, what do you need? And then it's brief. That's how I've always been. I'm brief with everybody. It's, okay, what do you need? Boom. And then when I feel like talking, I talk. Other than that, I'm in my room most of the day. She'll come in, check on me, that's it.
That's interesting. You said when you feel like talking, you talk.
Okay. It's short and simple.
I'm leaving my veterans over here for a reason.
But that's became the older I got. Being what I went through, I bottled that up myself. But my mom was still coming there. She knows. Mama knows. So I can never say, she's like, what's wrong? I can never say nothing. She knows something's wrong.
Right.
So, wow. I'm going to ask the question again. Trayvon, I'm going to ask this question again. What can we do to support specifically men of color in their fatherhood role?
What Mr. McKay was saying, like building like outreach groups and stuff for fathers, man. I feel like that's a big thing. Those are big things, man. Like if you have an engine, man, like what I'm saying, your engine in your car ain't gonna stop for however long you take care of it. As long as you take care of something, it'll grow.
Isaac, is there a different support when it comes to men and boys?
Yeah.
Because nowadays boys are fathers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, we have to have the conversation with them at a younger age because they are accessible to more stuff.
More information.
More information. When we was young.
So is that a social media thing or just? Is that a school thing? Is that a peer thing? Is social media driving that? That's my question.
I think society's driving it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think society's driving it. So what I would say is this: I will say this: you get a lot of organizations. Everybody want to start the youth group. Everybody want to talk to elementary kids.
Yep.
You know, and that's fine. But it is a demographic.
Lead me, Isaac.
It's a demographic of young African American men. I talk to them, bro. You know what I'm saying? Every Thursday I'm on this Zoom call with these men and these young men from 19 to 40, 52. Guy was in my last class, and they are absolutely lost on what it is to be a man and what it is to be a father. And they got kids. Society, what the problem is, these young black men don't know their worth.
Yeah.
And so it does us no good to have podcasts and Zoom calls for 19-year-old Isaac McKay who having baby mama problems. I'm just using myself as an example. And then the mother doesn't get it because she still has anger management problems. And she's so now it's just a pattern being redone and redone and redone. And so to answer your question, we have to do more of this. It needs to be more of us older men talking to these. The blessing is that we got these young brothers right here. They're willing to listen. Yeah. And a lot of times we do like you say, your dad in the neighborhood in Alabama, South Carolina, same thing. Everybody just stay in their bubble, man. And worry about their little bubble. And if they not connected through us by DNA back in them days, nobody just talked to nobody. Yeah. If it wasn't family. But now, I mean, we got to get out and we got to talk, man, because it's a lot of men that's not men. They just young boys. They just adult males. They're adult males. And I'm a man. You're not a man. You know what I'm saying? You're not a man.
Paige, I want you to take that and run with it after that.
First of all, just be an example.
That's it, man.
Just set an example. Be that light. You know, for others to see. You know, and I mean, granted, I am not the most how do I say it?
Don't say it.
Okay.
You are. You are.
Don't say it.
Well,
don't say that.
The point I'm trying to make is it's all about how you as a person live, treat other people.
That's it right there.
How that right there is if as a people of color, if we can just set those examples, give those, that's the best thing that we can do for our younger generation is set an example for them of what a man should be like or how we should be in society. You know what's that? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I have a question, and I used to ask my kids this. Do you want to be a part of society, a product of society, or just improving on society? Because we all are a part of society.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. But what are you doing to improve society?
That's
what we can do for the younger black generation.
That was awesome.
Right.
That was awesome.
I tell you, I would say this. We also need to it needs to be more programs that can. It's a lot of young men. Virginia is when it comes down to going, it's a lot of men, man, that want to be in their children's lives, but they can't because court has.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of them, you know what I'm saying? And they don't have the proper representation. That's why I wish Eddie was here. Yeah. They don't have the proper representation. Correct. So it needs to be more of those programs to help these guys. Because these guys going to court by themselves because they don't have a lawyer. And they get up there and they get no rights and no nothing, and so now to the rest of society they looking like they're a deadbeat dad, but they really want to be in their kids' life.
Right.
I see them all the time. I talk to them all the time. I want to be there. I can't.
I'm gonna keep this brief because for me, I can have all the answers for men of color, especially my young brothers. I can have all the answers for you, but if I don't hear you, I need to listen to you.
That's right. Yeah.
I can come. I got 1,000 answers.
Yeah.
But I gotta hear you. I gotta listen to you. I gotta listen. That's my thing. What can I specifically do? I have to listen. Let me hear you. Because y'all ain't gonna have the same problem. Right? But most of us got the same solution. Right? Right? So let's make it specific to what the young man or the men of color are talking about. Let me hear you. Talk to me. Right?
Yeah.
So I can help you. Because the general facade and the general answer for everybody, it doesn't work for everybody. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's short, brief, and to the point because we're about to get into some stuff. So many of our children of color are not empowered by the education system because they are not reflected in the history books. Wow. In a positive way, and because they don't see teachers like themselves. Or because they are quickly labeled, expelled. And in addition to that, they internalize or blame themselves for the absence of their fathers. Hang on. Okay. What would you say is something adults can do to embrace and empower children that have that mindset? And
So the second half of that question I answer is my niece and nephews. I have two nieces, two nephews. The older two, their dad passed away. He had asthma. He had a real bad asthma attack. So they're growing up without a father, 9 and 10. Me and my brother, no, we don't have kids, but we instill that every day is a role model. That role model they see every day.
That male figure.
And my nephew, he's he's one of those kids. He visualizes everything. He's fantasy. He's 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So he's liable to say anything. He goes to Amelia County, which is a predominantly white school.
Mm-hmm.
And history, like you said, the history books, they don't teach that.
Correct.
And so he comes home, he says he learned this, blah, blah, blah. My niece, Kamala Harris, the first black VP we had in office. I literally told her that night, I said, you can be the same person. No matter what, don't let nobody tell you what you can't be.
Mm-hmm.
And same with, here again with your hair, don't, cause she wanted to get dressed. I said, don't let nobody tell you, oh, your hair is ugly, or you look ugly.
Mm-hmm.
We have to uplift them as a whole. My mom does it, as my dad does it, even though he's not here, we do it. We have to uplift them. Correct them when they're wrong is, oh, you're stupid. No, we don't say, don't tell your sister that. You only get one. You only get, that's the only sister you have. That's the only brother you have. Don't say that. Because the way we treat you at home is the way we want you to treat other people as well. So if we uplift them home and here, they're gonna do the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna do the same to other people, and that's how they are. My nieces and nephews, I love them to death, and that's how they are. They make sure, Uncle Nate, are you okay? I can just be laying there for too long. If I'm in my room too long, they're gonna come in there and check on me. And they do my mom the same way.
Learn pattern.
That's just that because that's how they taught it. Like we've taught them because they see us do it. So growing up, they go to school the same way. And every report card, the teacher said the same thing. They're such a he's sweet. She's really sweet. She's really helpful. And my niece this past school year, she was really, even in the midst of COVID, she was able to help her teacher out through all of it. She asked her questions. She asked her if she needed help with anything. Just because. That's just how she is. And she does the same thing at home.
Mike, I want you to package that for me. I want you to take the curiosity of kids not seeing people that look like them, or read about people that don't look like them in school, and everybody hears the chatter about black fathers, right? Especially when kids don't have their father at home. So package that for me, and what would you say, or what do you think adults should say to encourage?
Well, first off, just being that kid and you reading in the history books about Christopher Columbus and all these other white people,
and have nothing to do with us,
and have nothing to do with us, and you don't hear any context behind it. You just hear how great they are. It kind of invokes that feeling of, do I belong here? Like, or am I in the right place? Because all through the history books, it seems like white people or other people have built this country, and we just out of nowhere just popped up out of nowhere. We had nothing to do with this country. So I think what we're gonna have to start doing is really at home cherishing and acknowledging the history of black people, like, in whether that's just family history or whether that's like making like Juneteenth more of a thing than the 4th of July for black people, because really that's our Independence Day. For veterans, July 4th always will still be a holiday, but for black people, we really need to harp on the cultural history that we have and that we share with each other, and just really explain the importance of it to kids, and to, like Nate said, really invoke that you can be that same person and their path was as similar to yours. Like Barack Obama didn't grow up spoon-fed.
So we're educated.
Yeah, educate the kids, educate ourselves too, and just be more knowledgeable about everything that's going on. So Isaac, how do I convince that child that what they're reading and being taught in class, that is not true, that it's more to the story than that? How do I convince that child that she's beautiful, he's wonderful, and that he is not the reason or the end state that dad's not there?
That dad's not there?
That dad's not there.
First I would say we have to show them their worth. I'm assuming we're talking about young kids of color.
Correct.
And so, like I said earlier, it is a plethora of information. You know what I mean? The problem is, we as parents think that it's up to the school to teach our kids. You know what I'm saying? I love history. I remember going to my son's school.
But how do you combat that when your child is being taught that and then she comes home?
That's what I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
I remember going to my son's school, and it specifically for this one time, it was during Black History Month, and on the walls in the school, it was only Virginia Black history. I think different when it comes to teaching. I'm tired of teaching about Martin Luther King and Harriet. It is more history that African Americans have done.
Absolutely.
But it's going to take a parent to dig to teach them, because the school is going to teach the curriculum that gets them the government funded.
And
we know
available. And everything's available.
It's available. So what's going to have to happen? We're going to have to teach the kid that Juneteenth is more than a fad. We're going to have to show the kid that it does no good for me to put on the Juneteenth shirt and then march down the street and then I do nothing for black people for the next 364 days.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so
absolutely,
it's stuff out there. We got to just show them different things. I watched a TV show on PBS that Oprah did for 2 hours about fathers. And she was showing all of these men that our kids look up to and how they father their kids. What we got to show these children is that dads are present. And it's going to take us as dads to grab other kids that don't have a dad to do that. Me, Fried Page, we probably got 50 surrogate kids. You know what I mean?
At the minimum.
At the minimum, we pull them in because if they don't have a dad, I want them to see me as your father figure. When I used to see Nate in the gym, I'm not just gonna walk by him and say, "Hell, you know, what up?
Yep.
Come here, nephew. What's going on? How you doing? How you feeling? What you need?" You know what I'm saying? We got to do more of that, and that's how we help the kids. Specifically for them to just, we got to teach them and show them and let them know that they are worth something. And so, because if you don't teach them that they're worth something, they're gonna go out there and hear it from somebody else. And then now we got a whole nother, another story.
Wow. So Paige, we can talk on the absence of fathers. Can you reflect on what's that feeling like, right? So how do you not carry that burden of thinking, of feeling that you're the reason that dad's not here? So I just want you to talk a little about what's the remedy. So how do we make that child feel to understand that it really has nothing to do with you, that dad's not here?
Well, as you remember me saying early on, the reason why when you asked me the question about my dad earlier, what I think it was what made him better. I can't remember exactly what the question was, but it rolls back to the parent that's there. The fact that my mom never said a bad word about him,
Wow.
that made it easier for me. Because I'm going to tell you, verbatim, exact words out of my mom's mouth is, at the end of the day,
That's your daddy.
that's your daddy. You can't change it. There's nothing you can do about it. Whether he's here now or whether he's not here, that's still your daddy. So, as far as
That's powerful too.
that's what in my mind that gets you through the fact of their absence. Because I'm like, Mac, I know you're gonna get there, but because of that, I was able to get where I needed to be by the age of 16. Then I was able to form that bond and have that relationship with my dad, to be there with him, and then understand. But had my mama not instilled in me that that's your daddy, had my mama had been, and I know y'all hear this because the young crowd today, he ain't nothing, he ain't never did nothing for you, he ain't worth nothing. That's not what she did. So because she didn't do that, it was easier for me to move on.
That's the answer right there.
That's what we have to do to support our community, our young blacks now, because even though they're not there, the young mothers have to understand, you don't have to put him down. Just no. To make him, the thing is that it shouldn't be to make him irrelevant because of his absence, but still make him relevant. Even in his absence. And that's what she did for me.
And that's good, because that's good. That's the answer. Right. Yeah, that's the answer right there. And we gotta do something. And I think in the black community we don't deal with trauma well. We don't talk about trauma. you know,
we hold it in.
We hold it in, and so I think we gotta get rid of that stigma that, you know, only crazy people go see, you know, because these women.
So now we're talking mental health.
Yeah.
That we talked about earlier,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and so I mean we have to, because it does no good for you to get all the help,
Yeah,
and the mother of your child not getting no help.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's you can't win.
Yeah.
I know I called on you earlier, but I'm going to come back to you. But Trayvon, I'm curious to know just your mindset when you're hearing these conversations with us, that with your daughter. How do you think that you're going to come back, knowing that, and hopefully that will change by the time she's older, that she's not seeing people like her, that she's not reading about people like her. So how do you carry or eliminate the narrative and carry the truth about us to her?
I think honestly, man, I'm gonna be a little blunt with her and let her know certain things. You know, like you know what I'm saying. My father was kind of with me. You know, like straight to the point, man. Because there's a lot of blurred lines between what really happened and what didn't happen. You know. So
that's true.
I just want her to understand, man. Like the world is full of a lot of false hope. Like, you know what I'm saying? But you gotta have your own way and stand on your own morals and don't break for nobody. You know?
Yeah, I like that. So Nate, I'm gonna come back to you with your nieces and nephews and Mr. Page being Mr. Page. Oh my bad. But back to your nieces and nephews, which you play a big part in that. So how do you come at the same question with them? How do you combat that and address that, that your nieces and nephews are not seeing people of color and people that look like them in the history books that they're being taught?
Yeah, like I said, my nephew, he's really observant to things. He asks questions. So, and I reference this, it's crazy. The movie Pocahontas was a prime example of what we were taught. Like Mike said, Christopher Columbus, back when we were growing up, we had the day off. And then the older we got, the truth, it unraveled of its indigenous. Now it's a whole different day. So he asked, what, you know, he came on talking about Christopher Columbus, and then he watched the movie Pocahontas, and he put it together himself. And he asked the question.
Examples.
And I, you know, here again, we were blunt with him about it. And my sister, she was, no. I was like, no, he needs to know. They need to know the truth because they're not being taught the truth in school. Right. Because when I was in 10th grade, even at his age, fourth grade, we weren't taught. We had a day off. We didn't know why, but we knew why because it's just, it's Christopher Columbus did. Right. Now it's
what's the
truth.
Meaning behind it?
The real meaning behind it is in the movies these whole time.
Because you know, the Vikings was here before him.
Yep.
They came to Maine first. You know what I'm saying?
And I want to add one thing to what Mr. Page said about his mother not speaking ill about his father. What, and now it's crazy. I learned the older I got. What you and him and go through has nothing to do with the child at all. So whatever business y'all have going on or drama y'all have, don't interfere. Don't ruin that with the child. Nope. And I just thought about when you said it, I was like, that's a great reason why she didn't speak ill, because whatever issue she had with him or vice versa, it had
nothing to do with me. As a kid. I don't choose my parents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't choose when I come here, but once I'm here, then it's up to you to give me the guidance and the purpose and direction that I need. So,
don't take that on the kid, man.
Exactly. So I'm telling you, that's why I stand firmly on, what my mom did. With 8 kids by herself. So I keep coming back to it, and I know the segment is about
Correct. It's
fathers
part of it,
and
it's part
not
of
been,
it.
but you know, I
It's
just, you know,
part of
is for me. Hey,
You know,
I understand with her.
wow.
Go back to the history books, like it's time. It's some stuff is subjective to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that stuff is old. Like we didn't. A lot of our black people, I know we not from LA, but they didn't got killed in gangs. There's no stuff on that to stop a kid from joining the gang when he turned 15. It need to be taught.
Yep.
There's nothing of that nature to be taught. You know what I'm saying? Like history has changed over the last couple decades.
But
man,
we're
you
not
know?
teaching kids history
Right.
at home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We expect the schools to do it.
Yeah, we rely too much.
We
on
rely
them.
too much on,
Yeah.
and they can only do what, you know, them schools' hands is tied too.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so we have to. I think it's too much information out there for us to go find.
Yeah.
And so I think you're gonna have to, parents just have to do better at teaching their kids about that history so that they can see. And I think now it's good they see, they can relate to people that they know. You ask most of these kids who Jay-Z is, they know who Jay-Z is. You can explain to them how Jay-Z's a billionaire. This is where he came from. This is how he got there.
Yeah.
He owns businesses, and they done seen, President Barack Obama, and now they see, Vice President Kamala Harris. And so it's stuff out there. I just think society waters down too much of what they see, because when they turn on their favorite channel, they don't see that. When they turn on their favorite channel, they see the stuff that they want to drive into your kid's mind, and that's where it starts there, man.
But it's all about involvement at the home.
Yeah.
You can't just expect to, okay, I'm gonna dress you up, send you to school, you come back home, okay, what homework you got?
Gotta check it.
But if you don't really get involved in that home and really understand, like, okay, well, do you really know what this means, what they're saying here?
Right.
Yeah, I'm telling you to answer this question, but do you really know what that means?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was my take, is that I need to ask the questions to my kids.
Yep.
How was your day?
Mhm.
What did you learn?
Mhm.
And then see what was the content of your day as far as your education, what was
Yeah.
taught to you.
Yeah.
So do I need to jump in to address that, to
Involvement. You gotta
Involvement.
do that.
rearrange that to let you know, hey, this is what's being said here, but this is the truth. But I would hope that I would show him the truth. With social media and the internet and all this stuff, let me show you what I'm talking about so he can see it. Because I know my grandson, he off the charts with technology. And with any other kid, if I hear that conversation of a kid talking about the untruth and what's fabricated, what's taught to you in school, that I would jump in and that I would, easily address the child's concern, even what her parents did, to talk the truth about what it was, especially kids of color.
And I got a story, man. I'm a descendant of Nat Turner, like out of Southampton and stuff. That's where my dad from. So I remember one day, it was briefly touched on him, and I went home and I had asked my dad, like, 'cause I know my dad from the area, and he was like, well, what they say, like. And then everything you look up on him, they make him out to be a bad person. Like he did it for no reason. Like, let's be honest. Like, look what we was going through, man. It wasn't for no reason, So there's a lot of that stuff to get misconstrued.
Absolutely.
And to piggyback what Trayvon just said, we think of last year with the George Floyd situation. And granted, my niece and nephew, they're going to go through 4th and 5th grade. They all these kids, we lived through it. We lived through Trayvon Martin. You guys, the Rodney King thing. They lived through George Floyd, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor. My nephew literally, I was watching the news, and my nephew came in there, he asked me, my niece and nephew, they asked me about what was going on. And I had to, so it was like, I had to go to my mom, because I had to take a second, like, it broke me down. I had to explain to my mom, to my nephew, like, I have to explain to my nephew that at a young age, at the age of 10, what it means.
Correct.
How did he process that?
To be a young black man in America, you can literally do nothing. And so he's asking what happened, so I had to explain to him what happened. And my niece was like, "Oh man, he didn't do it." I said, "No." And then, but my mindset went straight to my nephew, and that was heartbreaking. That I have to explain that we had to explain that to him at the age of 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Wow, to be prepared to do that, right?
Yeah. Because the history book won't teach you.
Thank you for joining us for part 2 of this journey. We hope you are empowered by some of these missed opportunities to begin to build belonging with your own fathers. We hope you join us for the final part of Searching for Our Fathers.